Okay, so uh, am I audible to all of you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So we'll start from this slide. Slide is visible. But,
Yes, sir. We can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
okay, so this is the last slide we are discussing. So I think it is clear how the load from matrix is transferred to the fiber and how it depends on the critical length. So if the critical length is uh, length of the fiber is less than the critical length, then we do not get effective reinforcement. So the fiber reinforced, the function of fiber reinforced composite will not be fulfilled. So in designing or developing a particular type of fiber reinforced composite material, this is one of the very important parameters, that is the critical length. And the expression of critical length has been given. Besides, other points are to be considered, but this is one of the very important designing criteria. Next slide is I have also shown you the how we classify the uh, fiber reinforced composite material into different types based on the length of the fiber. Okay, so this what we mean by the continuous alignments, that the fiber may not be continuously existing within the matrix. There can be the chopped length or the length as you can see, but only criteria is that if the length of the fiber is uh, around say greater than 15 times of LC, then we say that continuous, it is continuously oriented. And this in the first diagram, as you can see, length of the fiber is slightly bigger. So we can say that this is continuous uh, reinforced fiber, and this is maybe discontinuous because that particular criteria L greater than 15 times of LC is not fulfilled here, so we will consider that discontinuous. And the effective or the composite stress, that we will see the expression composite stress within these two different types of fiber reinforced composite will be different, and it depends on some other uh, criteria that we will see what will be the expression of the composite stress. And this is of course randomly oriented, and length of the fibers are also less. So these are the orientations based on the fiber orientations and length. Next is the mathematical expression of some of the important mechanical properties criteria. So as we can see in this in this slide, load can be applied in longitudinal direction as well as transverse direction. So we will derive two important, considering these two criteria, we will derive some of the expressions of mechanical properties, particularly the stress and Young modulus. These are the two important mechanical properties. So we'll consider first the when we are applying the load in the longitudinal direction. So we say that composite strength under longitudinal directions. Now here I have not written here everything regarding how to derive. Now this I am leaving to you to derive it for only one fiber and only one matrix. Suppose if I add another fiber, so there will be three components. So this will be three component fiber reinforced composite material. So in that case, just simple linear combination of the variables, as I have told you in the last class. Just another expression we will add here, plus say sigma to V2, like that. So this is the expression. Now what are the notations here that I will tell you. Now while deriving this, you must have to take into consideration some assumptions. So I will just mention here the assumptions that are considered for deriving these expressions. Like number one, the fibers are uniform in properties and in direction. Fibers are uniform in properties and in direction. Number two, the fibers are continuous and parallel throughout the composites. Continuous, again I am telling, continuous means it doesn't mean that if the length of the fiber is say 1 meter, so length of the part of the composite material is 1 meter, then length of the fiber also will be 1 meter. It is not like that. We have already defined what we mean by continuous type of fiber. Third point can be regarding assumptions. Third point can be the perfect bonding exists between the fibers and the matrix so that no slippage occurs at the interface. So we assume that when you are applying load on the matrix, there can be, if the bonding is not sufficient, so what will happen? The matrix will actually slip over the fiber. So there will be no effective reinforcement. So this bonding stress, or what we are calling about tau c, the shear stress between the matrix and the fiber, plays a very important role. So that the bonding should be okay. So perfect bonding, we say. So perfect bonding exists between the fiber and the matrix so that no slippage occurs at the interface. And number four, we are considering isostrain case. So as you can see in this slide, isostrain case, that means strain developed in the composite equals to strain developed in the matrix equals to strain developed in the fiber. So this is a case called isostrain case, and particularly in longitudinal loading, this assumption is quite valid. Because if you just see the derivation, you can understand how come this is becoming the strain in these three ingredients. Say we are considering overall composite and matrix and the fiber, the strains are equal. So when you are considering this and following the some equations, you can come to this equation which called sigma c. Sigma c indicates the composite stress. That means the stress that composite can bear. The strength of the in terms of stress, we can say that this is the strength of the composite in terms of stress or tensile strength, we can say. So this is just sigma m, that means the stress. This is the stress in the matrix, and this capital Vm indicates the volume fraction. Suppose you have mixed two components, fiber and matrix, and let us say 60% volume is matrix and 40%, remaining 40% is fiber. So this factor will be 0.6, like that. So this is volume fraction. So similarly here fiber, sigma f, this is the fiber failure strength we can take, and this Vf is the volume fraction of the fiber. So this is a very simple equation, and this is just a linear combination of the two variables. So we will get this. And similarly, elastic modulus also. So this is the composite elastic modulus under longitudinal loading. So that is why it is written as ECL, composite elastic modulus under longitudinal loading. Here also we can apply the rule of mixture, simple rule of mixture and linear combination. Here the elastic modulus of the matrix into volume fraction plus elastic modulus of the fiber into volume fraction. So if some more components are there, you see, in general we can write this equation for n different components. So it will just, you can just add on this terms. So we'll get. So these are the two important derivations. Next comes another one, is F, force developed in the fiber divided by force in the matrix equals to EF into VF divided by EM by VM. This also you can just derive yourself once you consider this isostrain case and just replace the strain by stress and all that. So you will get this expression. So these three expressions are the basic equations which are used to determine the strength, elastic modulus, and other parameters for while designing the fiber reinforced composite. So this is the case. This is the case for longitudinal loading. So another case can be. The transverse loading. As you have seen that when you are applying the load perpendicular to the direction of fiber orientation, then we say that it is transverse loading. So under transverse loading, it will be, the case will be isostress condition. Isostress condition. So under this, what will happen? Stress, this is one assumption, and it is valid also under transverse loading. You just see the textbook, any textbook for the derivation, and you can understand. So here, the stress in the composite will be equal to stress in the matrix will be equal to stress in the fiber. So that is one assumption. Besides these assumptions, other assumptions are something like that, like load. See, the assumptions are more or less like your longitudinal loading, but some more additional points can be remembered, like the load acts on same area in each layer and acts perpendicular to the each layer. This is also another point. So it becomes that is this assumption, actually isostress assumption. And then we can consider another assumption also under this case, that is fiber and matrix are of uniform thickness along their length. That means when you are applying transverse load and you have different cross-sectional area along the fiber orientation, then it will not be valid. So that is why we are telling that fibers and matrix are of uniform thickness along their length. So then only this will be valid. So once you develop this, then in this case, what will happen is that the strain developed in the composite will be the linear combination of the fiber and matrix. So we can write strain epsilon c, strain in the composite equal to strain in matrix into volume fraction plus strain in fiber into volume fraction. So only point to be remembered is that under transverse loading, the strain becomes the equation which follow the linear combinations. On the other hand, the elastic modulus will be not like this, slightly different equation will come. So as you can see from here, this equation, so elastic modulus of the composite under transverse loading, ECT, 1 upon ECT equals to Vm by M plus Vf by EF. Now, I am leaving you to see the derivation of all this, and also if you can see some numerical problems. I am adding here some numerical problems, and you can solve these problems yourself, and you will get the idea. So these are very simple equations about these two cases, longitudinal loading and transverse loading. So here are some problems. These are very simple problems. I need not have to discuss. Only these equations are to be used to calculate all this. So I'm just going forward. Here also I have added another problem, similar to simple problem. You can just see and you can solve yourself. Problem 3, problem 4, similar type of problem. Now let us come to this, composite strength for, for different cases, particle reinforced, fiber reinforced, and structural. Particularly, we will be discussing these two. Structural, will not be discussing that way. So, in case of discontinuous this will be when fiber length is greater than this. So it is wrongly written. I think this is wrongly written. This will be for continuous fiber. Whatever we have discussed for continuous fiber. Continuous fiber, that means fiber length is greater than 15 times of this. So this is continuous fiber. So whatever we have derived the expressions for longitudinal and transverse loading, that will be applicable for continuous fiber. Now if it is discontinuous, if it is discontinuous, then we take a factor here k, we take a factor here k, and this factor is taken as it has been mentioned here, and detail has been given in this book. This has been taken from this reference Callister, so you can see there these equations. So the composite elastic modulus can be slightly modified by these equations, and we are introducing a factor. It is called the A. So this is another equation. Then find in case of for longitudinal fiber directions, this equation is similar to the equations which we have already discussed. Let us see some more equations if there. So these points, I think we have discussed this thing. Now let us see this one. Composite strength. This slide is just you should see it carefully. Composite strength. We are interested to determine composite strength sigma c. So if continuous and aligned fiber, and it is length of the fiber is greater than 15 times of LC, then we will consider the continuous and aligned fiber, and the expression will be sigma c expression we have already seen in the derivations and also elastic modulus. So that will be valid for continuous fiber. Now when discontinuous and aligned, that means length of the fiber is less than the 15 times of LC, and this criteria this much. See, length of the fiber, if it is within this 2LC and 15 times of LC, then we consider this as discontinuous fiber, and the expression sigma CD means discontinuous. We are writing this. This equation also will get in the Callister. Only thing here, some notations have been given here. Some notations you should note it carefully. Now here we have added one factor 1 minus LC by 2L. This is nothing but fiber reinforcing efficiency. This expression I have discussed while discussing the how the load is transferred from matrix to fiber, and when the fiber is becoming effective, or when it is performing its function as reinforcement, and from that idea you will get this 1 minus LC divided by 2L. This becomes a fiber reinforcing efficiency. So this is a factor to be multiplied at this particular point. And regarding matrix, here we are considering not the matrix stress at which matrix fails. Actually, this sigma m dash, it has been written here. What is the meaning? Sigma m dash equals to stress in matrix when fiber fails. Actually, when we'll be discussing, maybe I'll be coming back to this slide. When we'll be discussing about stress strain behavior of a composite material, it will be clear about this sigma m dash and sigma f star, etc. All these notations will be clear. I will come back again if required. So this is the equation. This is the equation for discontinuous fiber. And if length of the fiber still is less than 2LC, where we will not get the effective reinforcement, but if we are interested to calculate what will be the tensile strength of the discontinuous fiber, then we can use this equation. This equation also is to some this we are actually taking the critical length here, this factor we are taking, not this is the factor we are taking, and this right hand side is remaining same. So this is the expression. This you can see in Callister also, and you can just think of this, how these expressions are coming. Acha. Next, another we have shown actually three diagrams. So for three, actually what I am trying to tell you is that we have seen three different diagrams. These three different diagrams, and here A, B, C, three different cases. We are trying to develop an equation or strength equation sigma C. What will be the expression for A, is B, and C? So A, B we have discussed, and the third one, when the fibers are randomly oriented. When the fibers are randomly oriented, as we can see in figure diagram C, so it is becoming like this. So discontinuous and randomly oriented. So if we are to calculate the elastic modulus, then this is the expression. So here we take the actually this factor. In short, this factor in here it is called the fiber efficiency parameter. Fiber efficiency parameter. We have discussed the fiber efficiency parameter by this expression. So it is normally 0.1 to 0.6. This factor is taken. So this is the expression, and tau c you have already discussed, the minimum fiber matrix bond strength or shear yield strength. So these are the three very important equations for designing the fiber reinforced composite material. So here are two problems I have added. So I have just added the problems, and I am just mentioning the equations. You try to solve. You try to solve yourself. Now this is a very important diagram. This is a very important diagram, and this diagram is also there in the no it is not there in Callister, but you try to understand this diagram. It is taken from some other book. So here what has been shown is that we are trying to understand the behavior of a composite material under loading, and we are applying the load under longitudinal direction. So it is, you can consider this is the behavior of composite material under longitudinal loading. So here we can see two diagrams. Hello, না না ও একটু ইয়ে আছে মনে হচ্ছে, একটু গন্ডগোল আছে। আমি একটু ক্লাসে আছি, ওই কানিয়াদেরকে একটু ফোন করতে, একটু ওকে ফোন করে দেখো। হ্যাঁ ওই so can you see the slide?
Visible, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
just see the first diagram. In x-axis we have taken, it is stress strain diagram. So as you know, the stress strain diagram, strain in the x-axis, in the y-axis. Now this diagram shows the individual stress strain diagram of matrix and fiber. And but we have superimposed in the same diagram. So as you know, matrix is a soft material. And the matrix stress strain diagram is to some extent linear for stress, when the stress is not there up to that extent. But after some time, what happens? The soft matrix starts yielding fast. So this point, where this linear is becoming non-linear, this is the point of yielding. You can say this is the yield stress. So after yielding, plastic deformation starts of the matrix, and as you increase the stress, So strain also increases, and after certain strain and stress, it has been given the notation epsilon m star. Epsilon m star, and corresponding to this, we are getting sigma m star. So this B point indicates the failure of the matrix. This B point indicates the failure of the matrix. So matrix fails at the strain epsilon m star, and stress level is sigma m star. This is the stress strain diagram of the matrix. Quite simple, and quite since it is matrix is softer material, so it cannot sustain very high stress, and it will be of low magnitude. Stress will be of low magnitude, but strain will be comparatively higher. On the other hand, you think about a fiber. Fiber is a very strong material. Actually, as we have discussed, the function of the fiber is basically to take the final load. Matrix, initially load is applied in the matrix. I'm talking about the fiber reinforced composite. So when you are applying the load, initially the load will be applied on the matrix, and finally the load will be transferred to the fiber, and fiber will take the final load. So the fiber is the strongest material, and normally the fiber is brittle material. Fiber is brittle material. So as you can see from the stress strain diagram, it is linear. It is linear, and if you draw the stress strain diagram of fiber, it will stress and strain will be related by a linear graph. So it starts, and finally at a certain level, fiber also fails individually. So this point I am calling as sigma f star, which indicates the 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 fiber failure stress, and corresponding to this, I am getting here in the x-axis epsilon f star. It says the strain at which fiber fails. So this is the individual stress strain diagram of two important components, fiber and matrix, separately drawn. Now what we are doing, we are mixing this two components to form the composite material, and now we are trying to apply the load. So if you see the right hand diagram, we are seeing the composite stress strain diagram. Here also we have shown the separately by dotted lines the matrix and the fiber, but the composite pattern is denoted by these green lines, composite. And what will be the pattern? Pattern is initially the stress strain diagram will be a bit linear with higher slope, but after certain period of time, when the matrix starts yielding, the slope of the curve will be slightly less, and so still it will be linear because the effect of fiber will be more. Actually, let me explain it a bit detailed. What is happening here? Initially, when load is or stress level load is less, then the effect of just load is applied on the matrix. So matrix is initially taking the load, and as the stress level is increasing, load is slow gradually. Matrix is transferring the load to the fiber, and the fiber is coming into picture so far as the load bearing capacity is concerned. So with this increase in stress level, what happens? The load which we are applying in the matrix will be slowly transferred to the fiber, and at a certain point, what will happen? That the whole stress, external stress, will be transferred to the fiber, and fiber will take the load. So what will happen? Initially, since matrix is taking the load, so linear. So both matrix and at low stress, matrix and fiber both are linear. So the curve is becoming linear. Now, when matrix is yielding at this point, at this particular sigma ym, this is a yield point of matrix. That means here matrix is yielding. At this point, what is happening is that the fiber is actually taking the load. So since fiber is a brittle material, it will follow linear curve, so it is becoming linear, although the matrix stress strain term is not linear. So that is why this part is also becoming linear. Now another point is to be noted is that, you see, if you look at the left hand diagram, normally we have 2 points A and B here. Now if you just follow the rule of mixture, you will get the composite strength on this line AB. You know, you will get the composite strength on this particular line AB. Why? You will get sigma C. Theoretically, you will get, we will discuss in the next slide, theoretically, as sigma F star into VF plus sigma M star into Vm, according to our rule of mixture, and definitely that value will fall in this line AB. But point is that will not be practical or actual load bearing capacity of the fiber. This is a very, very important point to be noted, that will not be the actual load bearing capacity of the composite. What will be the load bearing capacity of the composite is that this point. So we are not taking the composite strength on this line AB, line AB, but our design actual strength of the composite will be at this point. That means how will you decide? So this is the composite. So sigma CL star, this will be actual strength. So this actual strength will get, if we want to get, then what we'll take? We'll take this point A and C. We'll take the value of stress at A for fiber, and we'll take the value of C of the matrix of sigma M dash. And if we perform the linear combination, then actually we'll get this value sigma CL star. So that is why, let me now go back a few slides. That is why when you are taking this for to calculate the sigma C for composite material, we are taking sigma M dash, which indicates the stress in matrix when fiber fails. Again, let us go to this. So you see, this is the point which indicates the stress level in the matrix when fiber fails. So this we will have to take into consideration as the stress of the matrix. So for designing for actual composite strength, in order to design the actual composite strength, we will have to take this AC line into consideration. And if we consider the volume fraction of fiber and the matrix, and we use the formula, then we will be able to determine what will be the actual composite strength. And as I have already told you, theoretically, we will get a value of composite strength on this line, which will not be actual design stress. So this is a point to be noted. It is because another point is to be noted is that actually initially when load is less, fiber takes the load, and slowly when the stress level is increasing, the fiber takes care, and actually when the stress level is to such an extent that fiber also starts failing. And one point to be remembered for fiber reinforced, or in general for composite material, failure of composite material is not catastrophic. That means the composite material doesn't fail suddenly, all of a sudden. It doesn't fail suddenly. It gives you some signal, it gives you some time. And if probes are there, it will give you some indications regarding their stress level, and you will get time to avoid, take care of the major failure. So that is another advantage, because here when the fiber starts failing, you see, when the fiber starts failing, all fibers will not fail at the same time. Initially, a few fibers will fail, and then slowly other fibers also start failing. And then when fiber starts failing, what will happen? The load bearing capacity of the fiber becomes less. Load bearing capacity of the fiber becomes less, and that time what happens? Actually, then the matrix is supposed to bear the load, but we know that matrix yield strength or the load bearing capacity is quite less. So obviously, when fiber fails, we can assume that the whole composite material also fails. But it takes some time to fail. That is why we say the the composite material failure is not catastrophic. So that is also another reason why we take the stress level of matrix at the fiber failure. So that is why actually we are taking the sigma m dash. So these are some of the points or some explanations of these two graphs, and this is very important. So there are also other points, like, we can divide this composite failure into two zones. One is called the stage 1 zone, another one is stage 2. So in stage 1, it has been shown that it indicates that initially in stage 1 matrix is prominent, load in the matrix is prominent, but in stage 2 fiber takes care the loading. So as the load increases, so this is the transition point, this is the transition point from zone 1 to zone 2, where load is basically finally transferred from matrix to fiber. So this is the explanation of this two graph, which is very important. So we are going to the next slide. Now this is called rule of mixture of composites. So this is used for designing a particular type of composite according to the requirement, according to the need. Different person may need different mechanical properties, different types of composites, and this is some sort of a general guideline which can be used for designing a composite material. So what should be the ingredients, and what should be the amount of ingredients, and how to decide the percentage, etc. So this is called the rule of mixture of the composites, and this is how this graph has. Let me explain this. Now, let me first explain what are the different notations has been used. So in the x-axis we have given notation VF. VF indicates the volume fraction of fiber. VF indicates the volume fraction of fiber, which has been denoted in this x-axis. And we have taken two y-axis. Here is one y-axis, left side. This indicates the stress level in the matrix. And on the right hand side, so you see, volume fraction of the fiber can be from 0 to 1 or 0 to 100%. So this is the zone, and within this zone, actually we can select a particular percentage of fiber. So this is the two extreme points. That the left hand side, when the volume fraction is 0, so we can say the only matrix is there. So that is why we are writing this as sigma m. On the right hand side, we can say another extreme, that we are taking, this is extreme point theoretically, that we are taking only fiber. So 100% fiber. So this side I am taking the fiber span.
Would you turn off your mic?
Microphone off karo. Okay. So this is the two stress we are taking. We are taking the stress in the matrix and stress in the fiber. So at two different points, as you can see. So at 0 level matrix, and at 100% level it is fiber. So this is denoted in the vertical axis, y-axis. Now we want to mix a certain percentage of fiber. So what will be our, what will be that percentage, minimum percentage to get a particular composite so that our requirement is fulfilled. So what we can do, we can actually write two important equations. I have written here very briefly. So number one equation is composite stress. Theoretically, one can write this equation, and I think it is clear from the earlier graph. So this theoretical composite strength in the graph, you see in this graph, whatever you will get, this the point will lie in this on this graph. That particular value will be sigma f star vf plus sigma n star 1 minus vf. 1 minus vf is nothing but your vm. So this is equation number one. Now this equation, if you write, this will be a theoretical equation, but we will be replacing this theoretical equation by this AC line, So at this particular coordinate of this particular point is sigma f epsilon f, and coordinate of this particular point is sigma m dash epsilon f star, But we are interested in sigma m dash and sigma f dash only, and we require the volume fraction. So actual composite strength, we are getting this equation. So what we are plotting now here, you see, when we are actually, this is our design, this green line, this line BD, this line BD is a theoretical strength, and green line is our actual strength. So if you draw this equation in this graph, it will be plotted here. That means when Vf equals to say 0, when Vf equal to 0, you are getting the sigma m dash value. Or another extreme is this, when Vf equal to 1, you are getting this sigma f star. So basically what you are getting, this is my design point, this is my design line. Whatever composite strength I will get depending on my value of sigma m and sigma f star, if I know these two values, I can mix the amount of Vf. Let us say V1 we are mixing, V1 percentage of fiber we are mixing, we will get the strength at this particular point, say sigma m star. Now point is to be noted here, your matrix, your matrix failure strength is sigma m star. So definitely we should not mix a percentage of fiber at V1. Rather this V1 Vf should be greater than this particular V1. Why? If we mix Vf less than this, then obviously the stress level in the composite will be, you see this line from A to this point will be less than your sigma m star. So if you are not able to increase the strength of the composite beyond your matrix failure strength, then what is the point of mixing the fibers? So the point is that the percentage of fiber that will have to be mixed should be definitely greater than V1. So this is the range. That means V1 within this, V1 and more. This is the practical range. So now you have decided that I require this level of certain level of composite strength. Then accordingly, you can decide what will be the percentage of your fiber. So this, because you see, when you are going to design the composite, sometimes the fibers may be very costly, sometimes it may not be costly. Then comes your trade-off between your requirement and the cost of your fiber. Because if you are going to design a very high strength composite material, with the high quality fiber, then obviously you have to take into consideration the cost aspect. And if you can compromise on that, then also you can choose your the required composite strength level, and you can take the decision. So basically, this is one type of design criteria. Another maybe the cost factor also, but it gives an idea what percentage of fiber I should mix, minimum percent of fiber I should mix, so that I will get the proper reinforcement, or I will get the actual benefit from the fiber reinforced composite material. So from the same graph, if you see so from this equation, whatever I have told you, that is explained here. So this is what, now it is clear that the strengthening effect, of the matrix by incorporating fiber will be effective so long as sigma Ca, this is the sigma composite strength actual composite strength, is greater than sigma m star. So this is the condition. If it is not fulfilled, then no point in mixing the fiber. So when the volume fraction Vf will be greater than certain value V1. So at point C, we can find out, what will be the value of Vf. This is sometimes denoted when this, we get this line and this line intersects. This particular value Vf star is called the typical volume fraction of the fiber, and this V1 actually the minimum value of the volume fraction, or we can say the design volume fraction. That point M we are getting this V1. So V1 expression you can get from equation 2. Hence, for getting strengthening effect in the composite, for getting strengthening effect of the composite, V1 should be greater than Vf. Now, what will be the actual value of Vf? That you'll have to take into consideration by taking into cost factor of that particular composite material, because when you are incorporating whiskers as fiber in your composite material, it may be costly. So we have discussed different types of fibers and their their function also. You know that 3 different types of fibers. Whiskers are there, then fibers are there, then we are having the weights. So that point you'll have to take into consideration the cost factor also. So this is in brief about this composite material. Just I have tried to give you the idea. You see the book. We have completed in two sessions. So this is about the composite material briefly, and you can see the textbooks to get some more information. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
So next class we'll have after Puja vacations only. In between we cannot have, because the next class will be starting a topic which is again very important, that is phase diagram, phase transformation, heat treatment, all this, because as mechanical engineers you should know the basics of those, not like metallurgist, but some of the basic points you should know, and to understand the properties, particularly the properties, mechanical properties of ferrous materials, which as a designer, mechanical engineering engineer, as a designer, you'll have to take decision regarding some materials. So those basics we'll be discussing in subsequent lectures, in phase diagram, phase transformation, and heat treatment. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So I'm stopping here, and I'm going out.
Thank you, sir.